ugly scene here at Giants Stadium.
These fans here today are nothing. I'll tell you, they're morons in this stadium, and for us to stand down and to put up with this is ridiculous.
Ever wonder why when you attend a football game, all the snow from the night before is cleared out? Well, part of it has to do with stadium safety measures, accessibility, and the reactions following a game when the then San Diego Chargers traveled to the Meadowlands to take on the New York Giants. And that's not to say you'll never find a pack of snow underneath your seat or down the aisle, as you could see these two poor 49ers fans at Lincoln Financial Field just get peppered with snowball after snowball. But nonetheless, stadiums do make a conscious effort of removing whatever they can. So on a sunny day at Giants Stadium, in week 17 of the 95 season, the Chargers and Giants faced off in a game that had huge playoff implications for the away team and was pretty much meaningless for the home team. And the events that transpired during this game was something Joe Buck would deem as
disgusting act,
as fans began throwing snowballs at officials and visiting team to the point where they even knocked out unconscious the Chargers equipment manager, a 60-year-old Sid Brooks, who had to be stretchered off the field. And this wasn't just hard-packed snow, but also ice. To top it all off, one unlucky fan was singled out by an Associated Press cameraman, where he became vilified by the media as he had his face plastered on almost every New York paper the day after.
Billy Martin, straight from Brooklyn, better known as Brooklyn. Never taking shorts cause Brooklyn's the borough.
1995 for the G-Men was most notable for year 2 of the Dave Brown era, a time when Giants fans most likely want to forget. After Phil Simms retired, Brown was inserted in as the franchise quarterback, and after almost leading them to a 9-7 playoff berth, the 95 season was one to forget. That season, the Giants went into the Week 17 encounter with a 5-10 record and a 16th ranked offense and defense. So you can kinda get a sense of what the mood and atmosphere was going to be like from the home crowd when they hosted the Chargers. Basically, a lot of cheap tickets and heavy boozing. Nevertheless, this team still wanted to finish out the campaign with a dub and play the part of the spoiler in San Diego's season. 1994 was a season where the San Diego Chargers surprised most people's expectations. They were a team that rallied behind their stars and went on an incredible run of games, winning the AFC Championship when few thought they'd even be there. However, in this Super Bowl, they went up against a 49ers team that were on a mission, and in the end, their dreams of winning their first title were soon dashed. That being said, the 95 Chargers knew they had the foundation to mount another title challenge, but with great expectation, the pressure got to the team and they struggled mightily, going an abysmal 4-7 by mid-November after losing 3 games on the trot. Their season was slowly slipping away from them, and frustration began building in the locker room as their playoff hopes began to fade. But in week 13, the team saw a resurgence and the Chargers won 4 consecutive games, keeping their season alive. And with one final game left in the season, with all the marbles on the line, San Diego traveled to New York to take on the Giants in a do-or-die game. Win and make the playoffs, or lose and hope for other results to go your way. The NFL is back in action, and so is winning season at MyBookie. With over $500,000 in contest prize money, winning season makes the big games better and in victories even sweeter. Head over to mybookie.ag and choose from a variety of boosts, contests, and promotions up for grabs, highlighted by the crown jewel of winning season, the famed MyBookie Super Contest. It only costs $10 to enter. Pick 5 games against the spread each week. Each win earns you a point, and each point gets you closer to the grand prize. If you missed out on week 1, don't even sweat it, because entries are still open and all it takes is one solid week to get you back in the mix. Don't just take my word for it, join now and start your winning season with MyBookie today. In order to get you started, make your first deposit at mybookie.ag and use promo code CLASHER to instantly receive double your deposit. That's double your money to double your winnings with your first ever deposit using promo code CLASHER. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. So the game kicked off with San Diego first receiving the ball. After they stalled in their own half, the Giants offense came in and moved the ball down the field. New York running back Rodney Hampton was heavily utilized as he carried the ball 6 times on this drive. The Giants ended up settling for 3 after they struggled to find the end zone from a Dave Brown 34-yard pass to Charles Way. Concerns arose on the Chargers' next drive as quarterback Stan Humphries was knocked unconscious after getting sandwiched in between Michael Strahan and Jamal Duff. The quarterback was on the ground for 5 minutes before being substituted out for backup Gail Gilbert. And towards the end of the first quarter, viewers would get a glimpse of the atmosphere in Giants Stadium after a holding penalty on New York as Chris Collinsworth began noticing something from the home crowd.
And the hold against the Chargers, so they will bring it back.
Marv, this is an emotional crowd, considering that there's really nothing on the line.
It appeared the fans were becoming increasingly hostile and rowdy as a handful of them began throwing snowballs at one another. Later in the second quarter, the Giants caught a break after Mike Horn's 43-yard punt bounced off the helmet of Andre Coleman, with New York regaining possession. This set up Dave Brown for a 3-yard score to extend the home team's lead to 10. However, the Chargers answered back immediately on their next possession with a 30-yard field goal to get on the scoreboard. With just a little over 7 minutes left in the half, Brown orchestrated a drive from his own 29 after completing 6 consecutive passes before finally handing the ball off to Rodney Hampton for the touchdown. And during the celebrations, it's at this point where we would first begin to see fans throwing snowballs towards the end zone.
There are snowballs being thrown everywhere. I mean, it's coming out of the upper deck, the lower deck, and just getting bombarded. They're doing a little celebration end zone dance. Maybe it's all choreographed with the crowd.
Well, unfortunately, throughout this first half, snowballs have been directed to the visitors, the San Diego Chargers.
As both teams walked into the tunnel, the Chargers players knew they had to make adjustments in the second half if they wanted to keep their playoff hopes alive. Guys, before we continue, if you're feeling this video and enjoy my content, do me a favor and turn on all notifications. A lot of times, my videos don't make it out on your home pages, so this way you can ensure to at least get the opportunity to swipe left and ignore my videos yourself. The second half started with the Chargers defense grabbing a crucial turnover as Junior Seau recovered a Mike Sherrod fumble that put San Diego's offense at the Giants' 38. After gambling on 4th and 1, running back Aaron Hayden rushed the ball down the middle for the score and pulled the away team to within 7 points. And after both teams exchanged punts on the next few drives, the home crowd were becoming frustrated and began booing their team as the offense on the last few possessions struggled to mount a drive in the second half. Brown began to miss wide open receivers and the pressure really started to get to him. Up until this point in the second half, Junior Seau really began to take over the game with his defensive presence. He was becoming a huge factor and was the main threat to the Giants' offense. And it wouldn't be until late in the third quarter when we'd see fans throwing snowballs onto the field again. After Gilbert attempted a deep pass to Tony Martin in the end zone, fans began peppering the visiting team with snowballs. And to make matters worse, during the commercial break after the third quarter, the first of 2 announcements was made that advised home fans if they continued to act unruly, the game would end with the Giants forfeiting the game. And this announcement inadvertently pissed off fans even more. These are New Yorkers we're talking about. They don't give a flying F. Their team is out of the playoffs and playing in a meaningless game. And I'm not condoning what they did, but just giving you the harsh reality. I'm sure a lot of these individuals were liquored up, and what first transpired as just effing around amongst themselves soon quickly escalated to what we would see later in the fourth quarter. On the Giants' first drive to start the quarter, Dave Brown's struggles continued as he could barely muster anything on his throws. And then on 3rd and 5, the officials advised both teams to head to the sidelines as they made a second announcement threatening to cancel the game.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been advised and admonished about throwing snowballs. Now we have been informed that unless the referee can see his way clear and the snowballing stops, this game could be forfeited to the San Diego Chargers.
Following the announcement, stadium security had been pulled off the field as they were one of the main targets from fans. That being said, I think the last thing the league office wanted to do was forfeit a game and give fans the power to control an outcome. And as we'll see shortly, Giants fans basically called their bluff. As the game resumed, San Diego began moving the ball downfield to Giants territory, and on 4th and 6 with 12 minutes left, decided to gamble and go for it. The decision proved to be the right one, as Tony Martin caught his 90th pass for the season, setting a new franchise record. However, the Chargers soon found themselves again on 4th down and gambled and succeeded once again. Rodney Culver ran the ball for 8 yards to level the score. So with 9 minutes left, the Giants got the ball back and proceeded to move the chains. Rodney Hampton began running right through the Chargers defense for 3 consecutive gains of 11, 9, and 10 yards. And with the ball at San Diego's 12, quarterback Dave Brown made a grave error as he turned the ball over. While facing immense pressure from Seau, Brown threw a floater down the middle of the end zone right into the path of Sean Gale, who returned it for a 99-yard pick six. And right before the safety reached the end zone, you could see the amount of snowballs tossed in his direction. With the Chargers now up by 7 and a little over 5 minutes left in the game, the Giants had at least one more drive to tie the game. However, Brown's day of horror would continue as he was stripped of the ball in the very first play, and as a result, this opened the floodgates for the home crowd as you could see them attacking the Chargers sideline. San Diego finished the game scoring another 3 points to a final scoreline of 27-17, and with that, they stamped their ticket to the postseason. Following the game, questions began to mount as the Jets hosted the Saints the next day for their Week 17 clash, but crews were able to remove all the snow just in time before kickoff. And on that same day, the Giants organization took a full-page ad in the San Diego newspaper apologizing for the Snowball game. A total of 175 spectators were ejected with their tickets confiscated that included the likes of a police chief, a lawyer, a teacher, and a stockbroker, while some even lost the rights to their season tickets. 15 fans were injured, 14 others were arrested, and the one lone fan who was photographed, Jeffrey Lang, who was actually a Bills fan, ended up being convicted of improper behavior and fined $650. And just how exactly did they figure out who was in the photograph? Well, approximately 15 people called in after the Giants offered a $1,000 reward to the first individual who could correctly identify him. Anyways, Lang in a press conference felt he was being scapegoated by the entire city. He lost his job and believed he was a victim of discrimination as he went on to say on Good Morning America, "I feel like I'm being tossed out there like a piece of meat to the lions. I can't believe I've been singled out. I'm not condoning my behavior, but I got caught up in the moment. We were attacked and we threw at those throwing at us." So that being said, this was clearly a bad look on the organization as things really got out of hand. I understand it's a snowball and it really seems like no harm, no foul, as this is something we've been doing as children, but there were a lot of fans out there with their kids who were caught in the crossfire in some cases. And it's one thing to be throwing snowballs amongst yourselves and another to be throwing snowballs on the field, potentially injuring players. While the Giants and Chargers only meet up every few years, interestingly enough, the two teams are scheduled to meet 10 days before their 26th anniversary of the now infamous Snowball game.